Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Wealth Bridge. My name is Adebola Kolawole, and as usual, I have here with me my ever-ready co-hosts. I have Modupe and Adebola. How are you guys doing today?
Pumped up, fired up, super excited today.
Pumped up, fired up, super excited. And Modupe, what about you? How is it over
I'm
your
doing
at your end?
fantastic. Excited to keep it rolling. Excited to
That
impact.
is great. That is great to
Good
hear.
to have you
I'm
all.
I'm glad that we're back again, and I believe today we're gonna, give. I mean, the people out there, our listeners, we're gonna give you something to actually think about, and something that will really, make a difference in your life. A difference in your life. All right. So, without wasting time, we're just gonna dive into it. And just before we start the discussion, I just wanted to, to just mention some things and to sort of prepare our mind for what we have today. We've spent time talking about how to make money on this podcast, The World Bridge, and we hear it here and there, on social media, how to make money. But tonight, we're going to be asking a different question. You know, how protected is the money that you've already built your life around? Because earning six figures doesn't automatically mean you're financially secured. We've had a discussion about that also on the Wealth Bridge. You can have a great salary and still be, only two paychecks away from financial stress.
Yeah.
So what happens when the paycheck that holds everything together just suddenly stops? What happens? A lot of people don't think about it. And here is what makes this conversation very important. Income can stop for many reasons. It could be a layoff, a business shutdown, or slowdown, an unexpected family situation. It could be disability, an industry change, or simply maybe the employer is just making a decision you never saw coming. But if your income stops today, or stops tomorrow, or anytime soon, how long will your current lifestyle continue? Have you ever thought about it? Have you really sat down and said, okay, if I stop working today and nothing is coming in, how long could my household comfortably survive without borrowing? 30 days, 60, or 6 months? Or maybe you're not even sure because tomorrow the mortgage or rent is still going to be due. The groceries still have to be bought. The car payments still have to be paid. Those things will not disappear. Your children's need don't stop. So this, today's discussion is not about just making you live in fear. It's about having the right financial strategies in place so that when life happens, you have choices instead of panic.
Mm,
So tonight we're going to talk about what it actually takes, what it takes to protect our finances from life's unexpected disruptions. And without wasting any further time, let's dive into it. Udupe and Demola are ready to help me with this. I can't do it by myself. So I'm glad they're here with me. So I'm going to start with some of the questions that, we we hear and they say a good salary can create the appearance of financial security, but like we've established, income and financial, you know, resilience are two different things. So how long could you actually survive? Let's talk about the paycheck test. How long could somebody survive? If someone's income stopped today, what is the first thing they should look at to determine how financially prepared they are? I don't know who wants to go first. Who wants to help me with this one? You know, if
I can
someone's
go. I can go
okay,
ahead with
did you get a question, Mudipe?
I sure did. Yeah. How long will it take you to bounce back if your income stopped today?
Yeah.
For lack of a better word. Yeah. And that's a good question. And so, if you're listening to us here right now, we're shouting a big good afternoon to you out there. If you're in the East Coast, it's definitely 3 p.m. your end. And if you're in the West Coast, it's 12 noon, and we're just eating the road running. And to that question again, which you called and you tagged the paycheck test, many people out there not asking these questions. And I think that's why we thought or we deemed it fit to ask you or have a conversation around this question. These are questions we should be having. And so, if someone's income should stop today, what is the first thing they should be looking at to determine how financially prepared they are? I'm going to start with what I call the financial runway. You know, the runway. Yeah. So picture it from that angle. So I'm coming from the standpoint of how many months can I continue or can you continue paying those essential, I didn't say those frivolous or luxurious expenses. I said essential, those necessities, using money you already have available, which means at that point in time when income should stop, what do we have in that reservoir without me necessarily going for my credit cards? What do I have in my reservoir without me taking loans or withdrawing from retirement account? What do I already have designated for what I call the raining days when I cannot step out there to go to work? And I think this exercise can be an eye opening venture, for lack of better word, because many people measure their financial health, their financial well being by their salary.
Hmm.
That's true.
Debola opened us with that. So because you say, well, my take home is, or my gross take home, or my whatever gross salary is 100,000. Oh, my household makes 200,000. Okay. Oh, or my take home is 500,000. Whatever it is. But the important question is, how much of this take home or how much of this gross salary are we actually keeping?
Keeping. That's
Hmm.
true.
After we've taken care of the necessary, essential necessities. So if an household requires almost every dollar that comes in every month, then we have a problem. A high income can still leave you financially vulnerable,
Hmm.
which is why you will see we talk about this every now and then. We educate our community every now and then that it does not matter how much you earn. But what really matters is how much of what you earn do you literally keep.
Keep.
So your financial runway tells you how resilient or how vulnerable you are. And every single one of us needs to start doing that. I don't know if Demola is going to just take a bite at that as well, to give a little bit, pictorial representation about what we're talking about.
Yeah, and this is very important because a lot of times people don't even know what comes in and what's going out.
Mm-mm.
And even if you start from that, there's so many times, we sit across the table from a client and you're doing something called a financial needs analysis for them. And basically, it's always crazy when you point out they're giving you all these expenses. And and when you show them this clear picture, they basically don't have any discretionary
Anything.
income because they are the minus. And most often, the only reason why they don't even know that they're in minus is because they're supplementing with credit cards, supplementing with things they shouldn't. So at times, it becomes very difficult for that financial picture to be very crystal clear, without doing some of all these things. But I want us to understand that it's very, very important in order for you to be able to know, what your financial picture is. You have to sit down at least and you have to take some accountability of what's coming in and what's going out.
Absolutely.
Wow. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. What a good start. You know, be accountable. Know what is coming in, and also take be aware of how you're spending it. So everything balances. So thank you, guys. Thank you for that great opening. And maybe there's somebody that is thinking, okay, oh, I think this is going to be interesting. I think this relates to me. This is the time to sit down and not just sit down alone. Make sure you share it with somebody that you think might also benefit from what we're discussing today. Because this is one topic that's one question that we don't even ask ourselves. And we just keep working and money's coming in and we don't even know what could happen if that source suddenly stops. So let's go to emergency funds. You know, they say is that your first line of defense, the savings. So how much emergency fund savings should families realistically aim for, especially when they have multiple responsibilities? Emergency savings may not sound exciting really compared with investing, but when income disappears, liquidity can become extremely valuable.
Mm.
So how much emergency savings should a family actually, aim for?
All right. I'll
Demola,
take.
do you want to take that?
Yeah, sure. Um, Normally the rule of thumb, you have anywhere between 3 to 6 months or even more, depending on your own capacity. One of the very first questions I always like to ask people is, if you sit down and calculate how much your monthly expenses are, you want to be able to create 3 months of that or 6 months, depending on the kind of profession you are. There's some professions that maybe, the job retention or the job turnover could be 2 months, 3 months, some are longer. Depending on the kind of career you're into, will determine how long you can bounce back or get another job. So at least I'll say start with 3 months. Whatever your monthly expenses is, let's say for example, your monthly expenses is 3,000. You should have at least 9,000 saved up somewhere, such that if you don't have the ability to earn an income for the next 3 months,
3 months.
your family is good. You don't have to panic. If it's 6 months, for example, maybe people who are in the IT industry, who maybe are contract workers, at times it becomes very difficult to find a job. If that's your own or whatever field you find yourself in, if it's 6 months that will take you to find a job, why don't you create a bucket, that 6 months emergency, that no matter what, your expenses will still be taken care of. Why? Because you put a plan in place. So it all starts with the responsibility of understanding that there has to be a plan in place. We constantly talk about putting a plan every single time in every area of our finances, and not just finances. Your life itself needs to be planned out, because your life without a plan, it's as if you're shooting at everything without a target. So what's the focus? So that's what I tell everyone. Start with understanding what your monthly expense is, then create as much bucket you want, maybe a 3 months bucket, 6 months bucket. Start somewhere, because some people might say, you know what, man, 3 months, where am I going to get that from? I mean, if you start from, even if it's just a 500 you put in away, by the time you've done that 500, it now adds up to something that could be for 3 months. Start slow to win big. All right.
Thank you, Demola. I mean, you're talking about 3 months. You're not going to just put your 3 month salary somewhere the same day. Like, okay, I'm dropping three. No, you're going to build it over months, not just let me go and look for 500,000. That's my 3 months salary, and just drop it somewhere. No. So, Mudipa, do you have any take on that? Briefly, quickly.
Yeah, so my
Yeah.
take on that will be that somebody might be asking, I mean, to be honest, because we're talking to our community and we're talking to, a broad range of people. One of the things I try to quickly caution, when I speak with people or I have the opportunity to talk to folks is, well, while you're building this emergency fund, I beg of you sincerely, sir and ma, I don't need that money in your checking account. Please
Mhm.
put it in what I call a high yield savings account. There are
Yeah.
quite a few of those that are generating a little over 4.5, 4%, max that minimum 3.5. And you're not putting it into a restrictive vehicle whereby if you have a need for that emergency fund,
Correct. Yeah,
then you get penalized. So
it's
that
very
would be my
important.
add-on to that, to say, you
Money,
know
money,
what,
money.
while you're shooting for that, get yourself a high yield savings account. build a home for that emergency fund within that sphere, right? While you still earn something. Okay. And the essence of you putting that money there is like Demola had said, if there's a need for an interruption, right, in your source of income, we have something to fall back to before we get back on our feet and start running life again. That would be my add on.
Thank you, thank you. That was a very big nugget right there. Don't dump it in your checking account, not even your regular savings account. Find a high yield savings account to put that money in so that it yields something, you know, for you. Okay. So let's move on. We've talked about emergency funds. Let's go on to talk about uh um I would say I think we've talked about this many times on this thing, so I don't think we really need to like go too much into it again. And that
This we
is
did
lifestyle. Yeah, lifestime inflation. We've mentioned it so many times.
Mm.
So I'm just going to ask Mudipe to just briefly talk about that. Why can someone uh, earning significantly more money still feel like financially fragile?
And it's a very good question. And to be honest, it all falls back again to discipline. It falls back to discipline. And when it comes to spending habits, I mean, there's no point to be emotional about it. But you find out that a whole lot of people try to compete with the Joneses. A whole lot of people wants to look like the Joneses, right? Even though they might be the Phillips, but they want to look like the Joneses. And so because of that, it literally would drive them into a sport, right? That significantly increases their expenses. And when that expense is being increased at the expense of the inflow, uh, the result is negative. The result is not pretty. So because income can rise without wealth rising, in all honesty. So you
That's
receive a raise today, right? You've been living life before that raise came. But because now you have a raise, you literally already finding a house for that raise, a house to swallow that raise.
Mm.
You
oh,
see?
a
So you
Impulse
car,
earn
buying,
more, then
impulse,
you move
impulse
into a
thing.
more expensive house. I
Yeah.
mean,
a
if
new
if
car.
many of us have been doing it in time past, it's time to say, you know what, let's grow up. Don't do it again. Let's stop it. That's why we're having this conversation in the podcast. We can do better, right? There's one of the very highly revered mentor, and I'm not going to mention her name. I mean, she says, I will not spend a dime on until I have made 5 times of that dime. You
That
see,
time.
that's when I literally say, now I am eligible to spend the dime. And I think it falls back again to discipline and it's a mindset shift. So there is nothing wrong with enjoying the result of our hard work. Don't get me wrong. But I'm tell myself all the time, I say, yeah, shoot. If you're not in Singapore today for your vacation, it's because you probably haven't worked hard enough to earn it. So shoot, that becomes my trigger to work harder. So the issue is when every single increase, right, in our income automatically creates another permanent expense, then we're knocking on the door into lifestyle creep.
Mm.
Maybe part improves your lifestyle, part increase savings, and part increase investing. But a simple strategy is to decide beforehand what happens when that income increases. You see, we should be very quick to move that income to another generating avenue
Mm.
than to moving it into an expenditure strategy. And that allows us to enjoy today while strengthening tomorrow. So the goal is to make sure that our wealth grows along with our lifestyle. Nobody wants to retire in the next, whatever year we retire in our 70s and 80s and trying to downgrade the lifestyle we've always been used to. I want to believe you want to maintain for the minimum the same lifestyle. So this is the time we work for it and not eat our seed while
Mm.
it's still growing.
Mm.
Mhm,
Don't
mhm.
use all 10
Thank,
fingers to eat.
Then
yes,
that's what
thank
it
you
is.
very much. That was that. I mean, we've said it again, and we continue to say it. It's still going to come back, that same topic,
Mhm.
because it's what is out there. We see it every day, and we need to really address that, the lifestyle inflation. All right. So now we're going to talk about protection. Talk about protecting the income producing, person or persons, or and it could be you or whoever the person is, but there is need for protection. So we insure our houses, we insure our vehicles. We can't even drive without insurance. We can, as soon as you're getting a mortgage, you have to have an insurance with it. And we insure other valuable assets, even our phones. But sometimes not even sometimes, most times we overlook the economic value of the person producing the household income,
Mm.
of the income that we're using to pay for all those other bills. So, where do insurance and income protection strategies fit into this conversation?
Yeah. So yeah, awesome. Very, very good question. One of the things that I would definitely say, you must understand that in life, there are always unforeseen circumstances. And the biggest asset you and I have is ourselves. And what do I mean by that? We are the income generators. If your generator is out, how's the income coming in? There's no stream of income anymore from that point. So it's very important that we take care of ourselves, number one. And when it comes to our income, knowing fully that without our ability to go to work and an income, nothing happens. No bills gets paid, no financial obligations are met. So it's very important knowing that our biggest asset is us. Why shouldn't we protect that asset? That's the number one challenge I have for all those who are listening. Why wouldn't you protect yourself? Protect your phones, you protect your homes, you protect everything that's replaceable, everything
Mhm,
that you go to work to pay
mhm,
for, but you're not protected. I think we need to double check what's going on there. That picture doesn't look clear. That picture doesn't need a part two because part one is definitely wrong and it needs to be rewritten. So we need to understand that it's very important. Even just a life insurance plan on yourself, there's so many life insurance plans out there that can protect your income, especially when you're out of work. There are some that is good for disability. All different plans are out there that you can use for specific purposes so that when you're out of work, your ability to fulfill your financial obligations do not become incapacitated. I
yeah.
want us to understand that because your mortgage would not stop. You would not give your children, you would not tell your children, you know what, I'm sick, so you can't go to school no more, or you can't get that outfit, we can't put food on the table. So these things are very, very important. We have to start making plans before life hits because life always comes. Storms of life always comes. But when it comes, my question is, would you be prepared? When it comes, my question is, your ability to earn an income, will that stream suddenly just dry up because you did not put a plan in place? So I want us to just think about these things. We should begin to identify the financial risk you're trying to address, then determine what combination of savings, employer benefits, insurance, and other resources that make sense. People, the Bible says, my people perish because they lack knowledge.
Knowledge.
We're here to impact you. We're here to give you all these nuggets. I hope we're really taking something and getting the value. Thank you, Adebola, for turning back
Thank
to you.
you very much. Thank you very much. That's just it. I don't want to say anything about that because you just hit the nail on the head, like I say, and it's just so important that we have to protect ourselves. You have to protect the source of that is taking care of all those other expenses. That is very important. And I'm going to just ask Mudupe to deal with this last question so that we can leave you with something to really go back to work on. And we're talking about what they call it. We're talking about now that you know that you need there's need for protection. You're thinking about it already. That what will happen if your income stops tomorrow?
Mm,
So how do we move from that paycheck dependency to financial resilience, to from that survival mode to just having that peace of mind that everything is in place? The ultimate goal isn't simply surviving an income
mm-mm,
interruption. That's not what we're saying, but it's gradually building enough financial strength. That's losing one income source doesn't immediately just destabilize your entire life.
mm,
So if someone listening today realizes tonight that they are completely dependent on their next paycheck,
mm.
what should they do first? And just before you answer that question, we will be rounding up soon. It's not too late. This might be the very information that somebody needs. If
Mhm.
you're enjoying this, share it with somebody, let them hear it so that they can also make a change. All right, Modupe, go ahead.
Excellent question. And I smile listening to this question because this is something we talk to our client about all the time when we're having conversations of this nature. There's no point you looking at the big mountain and thinking you're going to like, oh my God, how am I actually going to attack this mountain? We'll start the little we can.
Mm.
Don't try to fix everything tomorrow because you heard Demola talked about it, Modupe spoke about it, and Adebola is also emphasizing it. And then you're like, oh my gosh, oh my God, how do I fix this? The first thing I'm going to say is let's be very calculative here, okay? You understand those essential necessities that you have, right? That keeps your body, soul, and family together, right? Calculate that. And your current financial runway, which is what? Every single thing that comes in and what goes out. Then you can now start looking at it very critically from the standpoint of what is your discretionary fund
Mm.
so that you can start building your first emergency savings.
Yeah.
We talked about it the other time. If 3,000 is your own necessity for the month, then so your first 3 months is 9,000. Of course, you don't have 9,000 that first month. What do you have? $200. Please put it down. The next time you have another $200, please put it down. That is how you will build that gradually. Okay, which is why we also emphasize make sure you put it at least in a high yield savings account. After all that, examine the high cost debt you might currently be having. Because
Mm.
Adebola, one of the things I've seen is that people don't necessarily want to be stuck. You see what I mean? They really
Mm-hmm.
want to be out of this so-called financial mess. But most of the time, individuals find out that they have been so engrossed in what we call the high cost debt that is so running into people here, especially in diaspora. There's credit card, there's these, so you've gotten all of these loans.
Mm-hmm.
Review your protection. And so that's really eating hard into what they have. Begin investing consistently when appropriate. Look at opportunities to increase or diversify your income. Or you're even out there and you're saying, Dupe, I don't understand Jack, what you're saying. Then it's high time you want to book, schedule an appointment with us. It's going to be complimentary. We will help understand where you're coming from so that we can have a curated, customized plan solely for you. And I'm going to say that, emphasizing that the goal isn't necessarily to become financially independent overnight. Like I sleep, I wake up, and here I am, I'm already financially independent. Mm-mm. It doesn't happen like that, Auntie Former. It doesn't happen like that, Uncle John. The first milestone may simply be moving from if I miss one paycheck, will I be in trouble? Or am
Mm-hmm.
I in trouble? Or am I moving now to if something should happen, I have some time to take a thoughtful decision. Then maybe you may build this 3 months of so called runway we're talking about. Maybe yours is 6 months. Maybe yours is even a year. Then investment and asset begin providing additional options.
Mm.
That's how financial freedom often develops. When you hear of somebody having, oh my God, this net worth, that net worth, that person is worth this, that person is worth that. They did not start just that same day. They built it over time. Not through one dramatic event, but
Mhm.
through years of intentional decisions that gradually now had reduced to what we call, reduce their dependence on the next paycheck. Those will be the areas in which I'm going to, lend to somebody listening to us. But most importantly, I definitely will recommend a complimentary conversation with a licensed financial professional who know what they are doing. And I make bold to tell you that the three of us here, we sure know what we're doing.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And you've just rounded us up in a very great way. And I know that somebody got that message. You know, I don't want to waste our time so that we can, we won't keep you too long here. But, tonight's question was just simple.
Mm-hmm.
What would happen if your income stopped tomorrow? It's simple. A child would understand that question. So what would happen? Ask yourself, quietly ask yourself about it. But maybe the bigger question is, what are you building today so that tomorrow's paycheck doesn't control your entire future? Because earning money is important, but earning without saving leaves you exposed. Earning without plans in place leaves you exposed. So saving without protecting also leaves you vulnerable. Building wealth without a plan can leave everything you've worked for at a risk.
Mm.
So for many of us in the immigrant community, we came here waiting to work incredibly hard, but the next stage of the journey has to be more than just working.
Hmm.
It has to be building intentionally. You have to build your emergency reserves. You have to protect your income, protect your family, control unnecessary debts, and create options. So if your income stopped tomorrow, what is the first financial expense you would worry about? Don't forget, like, subscribe, and share. And turn on your notifications so that you don't miss our next conversation. Until
Mm-hmm.
next time, this is the World Bridge, where we're not just talking anything. We're not just working for today. We're building, protecting, and preparing for tomorrow. We're glad you stayed with us. See you next time. And thank you, Modupe and Ademola. We nailed
You're
it.
welcome.
Let's
My
go
God
prepare for
pleasure.
bless
the next one.
everyone.
All the time.
Have a blessed weekend, everyone.
Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.